As we approach the 7th year of GST in India, it is clear that its introduction has largely been a success across various parameters. However, one oft-repeated criticism has been against frequent, high-pitched, aggressive tax investigations, coupled with frequent cases of multiplicity of investigations by various authorities on same or overlapping issues across various states. Recently, both the CBIC and DGGI, the Directorate General of GST Intelligence, they have published detailed guidelines for GST officers across the country concerning the conduct of investigations with a view to facilitate ease of doing business. It is expected that the state GST authorities would also adopt these guidelines. I will summarize the key points from a taxpayer rights perspective. The guidelines mandate a prior approval of a senior officer before initiation of an investigation. It can be the jurisdictional principal commissioner or a principal ADG in case of a DGGI investigation. For such approval, it needs to be ascertained as to whether there are similar investigations being carried out, and if yes, the feasibility of a singular investigation ought to be explored. Further, prior written approval of a even more senior officer would be needed when GST is sought to be levied on any sector or commodity or service for the first time by dint of a new interpretation, when investigations are being done against big industrial houses and major multinational corporations, when the investigation pertains to sensitive matters or matters with national implications, when the investigation pertains to issues which are already before the GST Council. Unfortunately, terms like big industrial houses and major multinational corporations, they have not been defined, which could lead to some ambiguities in the future. The guidelines go on to prescribe detailed measures to avoid multiplicity of investigations, good correspondence protocol, etc. Vis-a-vis summons, the guidelines acknowledge that the harsh language of summons can cause anxiety, and they prescribe a preference for issuance of information requisition letters as opposed to summons, especially for listed companies, PSUs, government department, etc. They go on to specify, the guidelines specify that there should be no fishing or roving inquiry in the guise of summons. Specific information should be sought to prevent any vague or generic demand for information. The guidelines go on to prescribe time-bound conclusion of investigation within 1 year, and most importantly emphasizes on issuance of a closure report so that the same issue is not raked up again and again. This is very, very crucial because investigations in India tend to go on for years, causing undue anxiety. Please bear in mind that these protections are available only in respect of regular taxpayers and thus may not extend to businesses, persons who are liable to register but have never registered. In light of these guidelines, regular correspondences and proactive tax policy advocacy by way of filing representations with GST authorities, GST Council is expected to become a potent tax controversy management tool. Also, lapses by GST officials from these guidelines would also make such actions amenable to judicial review to challenge before appropriate high courts in writ jurisdiction, thereby empowering the taxpayers. So overall, a very welcome and crucial set of guidelines, and one hopes that they will be implemented in their full spirit across the country.